In this world, people are assigned ranks based on their registered achievements. Our protagonist, Tohru, is a D-rank guy who hides his skills to not stand out because of his parents. They were S-ranked until they got targeted and lost their lives in a car accident. He's the typical beta guy, who does literally nothing but go to school because the government thought it was fit to pay his bills until he was 18. But he has a secret. He always dreams about a little girl. But in his dream, the little girl seems to recognize him, runs toward him, and passes by because the FBI is watching him. In fact, they're just behind and shoot him. It is 2115, and society has advanced rapidly to the point where megacorporations run the world. There's an abundance of technology from robot-assisted apartments to levitating cars. Everything is normal, but when one day, while chasing a mysterious girl who appeared in his dreams, Tohru finds himself transported into another world back in 2015. His friend and potential waifu, Kyoka, is also transported into the same world along with him. Confused, the two look around and investigate, finding a dead man on the floor below. Then, the ground starts to shake, and Tohru realizes it's an explosion. So they take their weapons out, but they're immediately met with gunfire. A mysterious man appears and keeps raining bullets on them, so the two friends try to find a way to escape him. Kyoka is slightly wounded, so Tohru takes on the mysterious gunner. But Kyoka insists on going with him, so the two duel the gunner with their paintball guns, dodging the projectiles like the Matrix. However, while stepping backward, Kyoka falls, and the gunner saves her. Tohru arrives just in time to face the most confusing moment in his life. The gunner is someone who looks like him but with a better hairstyle. The gunner introduces himself as Tohru, but let's just name him Chad. He immediately shoots Tohru after introducing himself, but Tohru has the power of the Matrix, easily dodges the bullet, and runs away confused. Ramai appears and saves Kyoka with psychic powers, while Chad dips. Ramai tours them for a couple of minutes in 2015 Japan before heading back to the lab. But Tohru sees the little girl again asking him to save him, and like a normal guy, he passes out instead. After a few minutes, Tohru wakes up in a special lab. He's back in 2115. But he's summoned, so he accompanies the android Zai to the meeting room. Inside the lab, they meet Dr. Brian Audner. He welcomes Tohru and Kyoka to their research lab for the giant supercorp that runs most of the world's economy. Dr. Brian briefs them about their situation. Basically, they're fighting parallel versions of themselves to save the world. Kayoma, Kyoka's big brother, arrives and explains more. He's the Katajiri group's leader, who runs the entire operation and leads the fight against their parallel versions. 2 years ago, omnipotent godlike beings called the timekeepers told Brian and a select few that the world is coming to an end. These timekeepers gave them a time limit. A phenomenon known as the desert syndrome is happening worldwide, turning everyone into Anakin Skywalker's worst nightmare, sand. One of the signs of the world's impending doom. But due to the efforts of Kayoma and a few others, this phenomenon is well covered up. The timekeepers gave them information on who would die, filled with accurate time and date of death, so such events were well hidden from the public. But it's not just that. The timekeepers said they would give them a fighting chance and gave humanity the technology to save the world. So, in just a few months, humanity created a time machine to travel back 100 years to the past to eliminate their counterparts. This technology is called an energy cube. Basically, it's a beacon block from Minecraft, except they can be used to feed your own weapons to enhance your fighting capabilities. It transforms and glows, which is awesome, you get style points. But saving the world isn't mandatory. Tohru and Kyoka don't have to participate. But if they do, they will be given these cool suitcases, which they can activate anytime they decide. But Tohru isn't really the type of person willing to kill someone to save another, until he meets their teacher, who is also a part of the Earth 1 players looking for survival. Olga thinks Tohru is hesitant to fight for Earth 1's second survival. So instead of encouraging words like a normal teacher, she lets Tohru watch a live footage of someone turning into sand to convince him to join the cause. Surprise, it didn't work. A combat maid comes out, attacks Olga, and takes Tohru. She introduces herself as Sejun and is an attendant to Kayoma. Sejun tells Tohru to watch over Kyoka because she's duty-bound to protect Kayoma at all costs. She reveals that Kyoma's the brain behind the lab and everything else. Although Kayoma regularly attacks Tohru, Sejun tells him it's for Kyoka's sake. He's an overprotective brother, but he means well. Later, Tohru arrives at the same spot where she sees the mysterious girl, and he finally decides to join the fight. The next day, Kayoma takes Tohru on a trip to the lab and briefs him of his vision. He then asks Tohru about the reason why he's finally fighting. Tohru reveals that a mysterious little girl asked for his help, and now he wants to know more about this kid. Tohru is sent to the training room to learn more about how this complex, world-ending event works. He then gets a call from Kyoma informing him that what he saw before is called a ghost. Apparently, these ghastly figures appear on the battlefield. Kyoma informs him that he didn't encounter a clear image of these ghosts until Tohru met one. Tohru heads to the training facility to get the hang of his new powers. During his training, he realizes he's got a unique power, slow motion. Aside from that, he can also control gravity for some quick maneuvers in aerial traversal. Halfway through the training, they're interrupted by an emergency broadcast. They'll now have to warp back to Shibuya, Japan, to fight again. Upon arriving, Kyoka meets Kyoka 2, realizing there are indeed copies of themselves in the world. While drawing the enemy's fire, Tohru informs Kyoma that he thinks the ghost is there and has to investigate. There's a massive hole in this plan. Still, Kyoma gives him the green light to investigate anyway, and now they're switching battle formations. After meeting with Kyoka 1 and Sejun, they engage the enemy to cover, but they're greatly outnumbered. Meanwhile, Tohru finds the ghost girl and defends her from the crows. The girl warns him to be careful and informs him that the time will end while telling him a cryptic phrase. The future hasn't been determined yet. Ramai meets with Tohru, but he rushes to help his struggling team. After taking on heavy fire, Kyoma's energy field depletes and is about to take a fatal blow. Chad fires a beam that is supposed to kill Kyoma, but hits Sejun, giving her a donut they won't forget. But Sejun was carrying a grenade, taking Kyoma 2 with her. The group heads back, crying like the little girl by what happened. Tohru blames himself for leaving Kyoma and the others to defend. But Kyoma tells him it's his fault because he allowed him to investigate, popping a good one on Tohru's face for being a sad boy. But hey, they've got a cube as a reward. Guess the donutification is kinda worth it. That night, Kyoka visits Tohru, talking about what happened earlier. Sejun's death fueled Tohru's desire to win so no one has to die. But as they're about to make it official, the timekeepers spoil the fun of Tohru as they're now gonna be doing an objective team deathmatch instead of a free-for-all. If they can reach the objective before anyone else, they will get 5 times the rewards. With his newfound resolve stemming from loss, Tohru and Kyoma come to terms to have each other's back whenever possible, and achieve victory without any casualties. As soon as they're dropped, they immediately head to their positions to push for the objective. However, Tohru's ordered to stand by as their team is doing the diversion so he can flank rush into the objective. A few minutes later and he's given the signal to start. As Chad pushes for Tokyo Tower's peak, Tohru follows him, hindering his advances. However, they both enter the objective at the same time. After a short duel, one of the timekeepers appears and congratulates them for qualifying. The timekeeper took Sejun's form, which agitates Tohru. But the timekeeper diffuses the situation by explaining that she borrowed Sejun's form to communicate efficiently. She then gives them both the cubes as a reward and explains that came from the future to save them. Chad questions her why the timekeepers are letting them fight if they intend to save them in the first place, but the timekeeper tells him that it's to minimize the casualties. Due to the advancement in technology in both worlds, 10 years from their current timeline, which is 2115, they'll be able to create a time warp technology, a seamless space-time bridge between the two worlds. This will cause war between the two worlds, which will end up in both being destroyed. And so the best thing they can think of is to send high schoolers and a few adults who can do time travel stuff to their deaths, so a couple of billion lives will be spared. Chad agrees with this slippery slope because human history keeps repeating itself. He simply doesn't believe in the power of friendship and talk no jutsu. To add more to their despair, the timekeeper tells them degradation is one of the results of this pre-apocalyptic mess, and to prevent that from happening, they'll just have to destroy their enemies before they can destroy them. The timekeepers are just arbiters in this death game for survival. After hearing all the timekeepers' nonsense, Tohru tries to go for the diplomatic approach, but tells them that the future isn't determined yet. But Chad takes the aggressive approach and starts a fight, causing the timekeeper to send them into an alternate reality. Tohru wakes up in Frontier Stratos, Chad's home world. Kyoka 2 is there and tours him around their base called Bastion. In this world, humans try to survive a post-apocalyptic setting that turned most human civilizations into relics of the past, while everyone in Tohru's homeworld is living a lavish lifestyle. In Frontier S, everyone is so goddamn poor. Kyoka 2 takes Tohru to visit the grave of Ramai 2. She says that Ramai 2 is also an orphan and Chad took him in, along with all the war orphans, building Bastion as their sanctuary. But after losing Ramai 2, Chad changed drastically, taking extreme measures to make sure no one dies. Kinda like Tohru's methods, but less brutal. After hearing Kyoka 2's plight, Tohru comforts her and tells her all the things she wants to hear coming out of Chad's mouth. Tohru's unspoken charisma amazes Kyoka too. She has to consider if she's cheating on Chad. But their meeting is cut short when the base takes Tohru back to his world. Tohru arrives inside the lab and meets Chad, deflecting the bullet Chad just fired. However, the bullet hits Kyoka, injuring her. Chad uses this as a distraction to return to his homeworld. The next day, World 1 engages World 2 in yet another battle. But this time around, Ramai uses an energy cube, forcing himself to power up. He becomes so strong that it backfires on him, causing him not to feel so good and transforming into a Darude sandstorm. The storm takes Tohru inside, causing him to experience various memories, ranging from his childhood memories, teenage years, and eventually a fever dream in which the timekeeper is keeping him jailed. But after touching the same message from the mysterious girl, Tohru's transported to the pocket dimension of the mysterious girl, this time without the FBI around. The girl reveals the truth about the dead end, the ultimate death of humanity. According to her, humanity found a mysterious particle drifting in space, which was later turned into energy cubes. The cubes were produced in mass and used by the military to invade other worlds using the time warp technology. In the girl's world, dead end was used, but it turned everyone into sand. And the humans who were once swallowed by the dead end formed a hive mind called the timekeepers. The timekeeper cracks open their pocket dimension when Tohru asks why they returned to the past. She says that it was to protect humanity, but in reality it was to destroy them. The timekeepers reason that through their intervention, humanity finds eternal peace by being trapped inside a false utopian world. The girl sends the timekeeper out of her realm and tells Tohru what to do. Using the girl's power, they can undo the predetermined future tied to the timekeepers. After merging his energy cube with the girl's power, the girl disappears, asking him to give her a name. He names her Mickey and she tells him they'll meet again in the future. Tohru comes out of the sandstorm and tells everyone to stop fighting as they have a bigger problem now. And so after telling them what happened inside the sandstorm, Worlds 1 and 2 form an alliance and call for a truce temporarily. Their goal is to take care of Ramai, who is currently the core of the sandstorm. Tohru 1 fights his way toward hordes upon hordes of Zai-like androids coming out of Ramai's sandstorms. Zai, Ramai's parental android guardian, springs into action and sacrifices herself to save Ramai. Tohru takes the final shot, saving Ramai in the process. But the timekeeper appears and warns Tohru of his actions, which can end their world sooner than expected. And then Dr. Brian betrays them. Apparently, he colluded with his alternate self, Dr. Brian 2, to catch and restrain all time travelers because they think they can do it better. They want to use the energy cubes to advance humanity's technological level to the point where they can beat the timekeepers at their game. Also because this boomer nerd doesn't want the zoomer that Kyoma is, lording over him like he's some kind of dog on a leash. But Kumi, Brian's secretary, releases Tohru from his cell to free his fellow time travelers. And he learns that Doc Brian is just like a kid looking for attention. Brian orders his soldiers to capture the time travelers, dead or alive. Luckily, Tohru arrives just in time to save the hospitalized Kyoka. After learning of Brian's betrayal, World 1 forms a resistance against Brian and the timekeepers. While resting, Tohru receives the memories of the mysterious girl and learns more about her past as a head scientist. Her research brought the end of humanity. During her despair, Tohru and Kyoka appear in her dreams to encourage her. And so she points them out to the one place where it all started, the tree where they met her. The next day, World 1 assembles their group to finalize their plan. But Tohru and Kyoka go on a date before the final battle. Their mission starts and Olga heads straight for Brian, killing him. Similarly, in World 2, Chad kills Brian too. The group heads to the site and discovers that it's also a time machine. And they jump into it anyway, hoping for the best. The group arrives and the final battle commences, but instead of directly fighting World 2, World 1 creates a David Starfield to trigger an opening into the Timekeeper's realm. Tohru convinces Chad to help him open a portal so they can finally kill the ones who made them kill each other in the first place. They open the Timekeeper's dimension, but only Tohru 1 and 2 can enter this unstable gate. Inside, the Timekeeper tries to gaslight them into believing her solution, but it isn't very effective. With their combined power, the Tohrus battle the full might of the Timekeeper's army. Tohru fires a shot to kill the Timekeeper, and Chad arrives to deliver the final blow. But the fight isn't over. Chad still wants to go to war with Tohru's world, and so the two enter a bloody duel, no holds barred. But just when Chad's about to end Tohru, their wifes appear to save them. Tohru uses this chance to disable Chad. Chad orders him to shoot him, but Tohru shoots the energy cube that's binding them to that place, finally destroying the bridge between both worlds and ending the conflict once and for all. Back into their timeline, we find out Tohru is an old man who became the president of the world after getting married to Kyoka. He's once again reunited with Mickey, who calls him Grandpa. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.